Yes. There's no changes to it. That's correct. That's correct. And Commissioner Conti, yes. Commissioner Conti, I'm trying to call, and so when you're ready, I will undo the music hold and you can begin. Have a good meeting, everyone.
Music hold ended. Good morning and welcome to the Arapahoe County Public Meeting today, December 8th, 2020. And we will, I'll call the meeting to order. And on the call today is our County Attorney, Ron Carl, and Jolene Sanchez, Clerk to the Board Administrator. Ms. Sanchez, would you call the roll of the Board, please? Commissioner Conti? Good morning, Jolene. Good morning. Commissioner Sharp? Here. Commissioner Baker? Here. Commissioner Jackson? Here. And Commissioner Holland? Here. Thank you. Commissioner Jackson, would you please lead us in the pledge? Certainly. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Carl, are there any modifications to the agenda this morning?
There are no modifications.
Thank you. I'll ask for adoption of the agenda as presented.
This is Commissioner Holland. I so move.
Second. Motion made by Commissioner Holland, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. Now is the time in our meeting where we have public citizen comment. Are there any citizens who would like to speak? Michelle, do we have anyone on the?
We do have some folks on the line. If they would like to speak, if they could press *3 at this time, and we'll just give them a minute if they'd like to speak on any items not on the agenda. They can press *3. Great. So, Commissioners, we do have a caller with the last 4 digits of 6001. Please go ahead.
Hi, this is Amy Reed. My husband and I are owners of The Melting Pot, which is located at 2707 West Main Street. And I would like to urge all the commissioners to follow in the footsteps of Mesa, Weld, and Douglas counties, who have all advocated for restaurants to remain open if they're following the guidelines. This is a critical time of year when restaurants are heading into their busy season. Restaurants who've already lost 3 months of revenue with the earlier shutdowns, and we're counting on this holiday season to keep them afloat. The longer this shutdown goes on, the greater the chance that many will remain closed permanently. And I would like to know, where is the evidence that indoor dining is causing outbreaks? If Walmart and Target can stay open but restaurants cannot, that's a violation of the equal protection under the law. Our restaurants have violated nothing. We've done nothing to violate our business license. We've gone to extra expense to put in plexiglass, buy gloves, buy buy masks for our employees. We've gone to extra expense to try to create outdoor seating areas, even at this time of year when it's not comfortable to sit outside half the time. The shutting down of our businesses is equivalent to taking our property without justice compensation. It's not temporary if there is no end date on the calendar and no guarantee that we'll be able to reopen at the end of this. Taking our business away in the interest of public good is covered under the Fifth Amendment under the Takings Clause, which requires just compensation if property, in this case the property of our business, is taken by the government for the purpose of public welfare. The mandates that are made by Governor Polis are not laws. He's violating the separation of powers by making, enforcing, and passing judgment on businesses with his mandates. He is acting as all three branches of government, which makes his mandates not only not lawful, but not constitutional. And laws that are contrary to the constitutional are not law and not enforceable. All of you are in a unique position, and you have been sworn to uphold the Constitution. You can help restaurants. You can make judgments that will allow us to open up. The Constitution requires impartial justice, and impartial does not mean that other stores can stay open but restaurants cannot. Every business is essential when the employees are relying on it to support their families. There is no adult out there who does not know the risks, and if business owners and their employees wish to take the risk, and their customers wish to take the risk, then they should be allowed to do so in the way that all businesses are doing with stores like Target and Walmart and all these other stores that are allowed to open. It's not impartial and it's not constitutional. I'm urging you all to uphold your sworn constitutional that you sworn to uphold the constitutional. I'm just urging you to do something to help restaurants out.
Thank you. Appreciate your call today or your comments today. Michelle, is there anyone else who would our board is taking some steps and working with Tri-County Health, and we can get more information out to you on what we've been doing.
There are no other callers in the queue at this time.
Okay, thank you. And we'll make sure and get information to that caller on what it is our board is in the process of doing. Thank you. Okay, we will, I'll close the public comment period and move on to approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. The first one is November 10th, 2020, and we had a full board. I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Baker. I move to approve this minute. I'll second that motion, Bill Holland.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. The second set of minutes is November 24th, 2020, and again we had a full board. Entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept those minutes.
From the November 24th, motion made by Commissioner Holland. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Commissioner Conti. All in favor, please say, I'm sorry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to approval of the consent agenda as presented. Entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Conti, and I will move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Commissioner Baker will second.
Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Baker. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We get down to we have several items on our agenda today. And our first is the general business item, weed control ordinance, first reading, and set the public hearing date. Our attorney on this matter is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Our presenter is Russ Johnson, Weed Control Specialist, Public Works and Development. And Mr. Hill, would you, it's not a public hearing, but would you set any foundation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As you noted, this is not a public hearing. I'm here to introduce and do the first reading of a proposed ordinance to amend the county's existing weed control ordinance. It's ordinance number 2021-01. After I read it, I believe Russell Johnson is here, and both of us can answer any questions that the board may have on the ordinance. Under the procedure for adopting an ordinance, as I mentioned, this is first reading, and we would ask the board if it's inclined to proceed with this amendments to the weed control ordinance to set a public hearing for, I believe it's January 12th, as stated in the motion. Yeah, January 12th. So I will commence reading the ordinance now, and Mr. Commissioners have a question for me before I start that. I will say it's fairly lengthy and has some difficult words that I may have to struggle over, so I apologize in advance for that.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. It's ordinance number 2021-01, an ordinance setting forth Arapahoe County policies and procedures regulating the accumulation of weeds and brush on commercial and residential lots of 2 acres or less, providing for the removal thereof, and providing penalty provisions for violations and enforcement pertaining thereto. Whereas, pursuant to Section 30-15-401, Plan 1, Plan I.5, Colorado Revised Statutes, the Board of County Commissioners of Arapahoe County, the Board, has the power to adopt ordinances to provide for and compel the removal of weeds and brush from lots and tracts of property and from alleys behind and sidewalk areas in front of such properties within the unincorporated territory of the county, including the authority to provide for and compel the removal of weeds and brush from residentially and commercially zoned lots of 2 acres or less. And whereas the board finds the accumulation of weeds on residential property and commercial lots of 2 acres or less is a public health hazard and or a public nuisance. And whereas the board also finds that in order to preserve the public peace, health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Arapahoe County, the following ordinance should be adopted. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Board of County Commissioners of Arapahoe County as follows. Section 1, intent. The board finds, determines, and declares that the accumulation of weeds on property is a public health hazard and a public nuisance, in which such accumulations depreciate property values in the neighborhood, create a health and fire hazard, and encourage the proliferation of pests and rodents, and that the regulation of weeds is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Arapahoe County. Section 2, definitions. As used in this ordinance, the following words are defined as follows. Board means the Board of County Commissioners of Arapahoe County. Commercial lot means any lot zoned for residential uses, including those zoned as planned unit development, regardless of actual land use, which is 2 acres or less in size, and which is not agricultural land as defined in CRS 39-1-102, parentheses 1.6. Director means the Director of Arapahoe County Public Works and Development. Lot means a parcel of land occupied or designed to be occupied by a main building. A lot may or may not be shown as a lot on a duly recorded plat a lot includes a tract or other area of property shown on a recorded plat, such as for drainage facilities or other public use purposes or otherwise held as common interest property under Colorado law. Property owner means the owner of records as shown by the tax rolls of Arapahoe County and or the records of the county clerk and recorder of Arapahoe County of any real property to which this ordinance applies. Residential lot means any lot zoned for residential uses, including PUD zoned lots, regardless of actual land size, and which is 2 acres or less in size. Weeds means any unsightly, useless, troublesome, or injurious plant, including grasses and or vegetation, which has grown to maturity or to a height in excess of 6 inches, including but not limited to field bindweed, leafy spurge, Canada thistle, Russian knapweed, perennial foul thistle, Archer vine, silverleaf, poverty weed, mouse ear, poverty weed, fanweed, mustards, purple-flowered gum cherry, Russian thistle, fireweed, redroot pigweed, smooth pigweed, cross grape pigweed, sandbur, hairy stickseed, buffalo burrs, white horse nettle, and Carolina horse nettle, common ragweed, cockleburr, and dandelion. This definition shall not include flower gardens, shrubberies, vegetable gardens, small grain plots, successional grasses utilized for erosion control, and pastures used for seed, fodder, or forage, provided the same are adequately weeded and maintained. Zoning administrator means the Arapahoe County zoning and animal services manager or designated agent. Section 3, applicability. This ordinance shall apply to residential and commercial lots as defined herein within the unincorporated areas of Arapahoe County and within any incorporated municipality of Arapahoe County that consents to the application of this ordinance within the municipality and to the alleys behind and the sidewalk areas in front of such property. This ordinance shall not apply to any property zoned as obsolete zoning district, RR-C, in parentheses, rural residential C, and current zoning districts, A-E, agricultural, A-1, agricultural, RR-A, rural residential A, RR-B, rural residential B, C, cultural, O, open, and F, floodplain. Nor shall this ordinance apply to land currently in agricultural use as defined in section 39-1-102, 1.6 as amended. Section 4, cutting and removal of weeds required. Residential and commercial lot property owners shall cut or cause to be cut all weeds growing on their lots and remove or cause the removal of the cut weeds to a legal refuse disposal site. It shall be unlawful for any person to violate the provisions of this section. Section 5, weed removal procedures. A, upon information received of a complaint by Arapahoe County staff, the zoning administrator shall investigate such complaint to ensure compliance with this ordinance. If the zoning administrator determines weeds exist in violation of this ordinance, prior to initiating the procedures set forth in this ordinance to bring such property into compliance, the zoning administrator shall cause to have posted for a period of 10 days upon such property a placard containing a notice of violation substantially the following form. The placard is to read to the owners of the following described property. Property description in parentheses. Notice is hereby given that there exists on this property accumulation of weeds which must be removed and disposed of in accordance with the provisions of Arapahoe County Ordinance number 2021-01. Notice is further given that if such weeds are removed and disposed of within 15 days from that date, the Board of County Commissioners shall cause the same to be removed and disposed of, in which event the owners of this property shall be liable for the cost of removal thereof as set forth in the above ordinance. Arapahoe County, Colorado, by signature lines for zoning administrator of Arapahoe County, Colorado. B. In addition to the posting of the placard on the subject property, the zoning administrator shall serve on the property owner by registered or certified mail, return receipt requested, a copy of the notice of violation as set forth on the placard. This notice shall be mailed to the property owner's address as shown on the tax rolls of Arapahoe County and at the discretion of the zoning administrator. Any additional address which the zoning administrator deems appropriate. C. Failure to receive notice. The property owner's failure to receive any notice of violation provided for in this ordinance shall not invalidate any proceedings under this ordinance. D. Extension of time. The zoning administrator, at his or her discretion, may grant a reasonable extension of time to effect the removal of the weeds if the request for any extension is received within the time period for removal set forth in the notice of violation. Any extension as may be granted herein shall not exceed an additional 14-day duration. Section 6. Failure to comply with the notices. County action. If the weeds are not removed within the time specified in the aforementioned notices, or upon expiration of any extensions of time granted by the zoning administrator, the zoning administrator is authorized and empowered to request appropriate county personnel or an approved private contractor to enter upon the subject property and remove the weeds. Administrative search warrant. If the zoning administrator is denied access to a property which has accumulation of weeds prohibited under this ordinance, the application for an administrative entry and seizure warrant for the removal of such weeds may be made with the Arapahoe County Court or the Arapahoe County District Court. The Arapahoe County Attorney's Office shall provide representation of the county in such matter. The application for administrative entry and seizure warrant shall include a sworn affidavit stating the factual basis for such warrant, evidence that the property owner has received notice of the weed violation and has failed to remove the weeds within 15 days of the date of such notice, a general description of the location of the property in question, and the proposed disposal of such weeds. The administrative entry and seizure warrant shall be executed by the zoning administrator within 10 days of the date of issuance. A copy of such warrant shall be provided or mailed to the property owner, and proof of the execution of such warrant shall be filed with the court. E. Employment of private contractors. The zoning administrator is authorized to employ private contractors with the approval of the director to remove the weeds. The cost of removal by a private contractor shall be paid by the county upon receipt of an invoice approved by the zoning administrator and countersigned by the director. D. Statement and notice of cost. Whenever any costs are incurred by Arapahoe County causing the removal of any weeds, the zoning administrator shall cause a statement to be prepared showing the total cost of the removal, including an additional 10% for inspection and other incidental costs in connection with the removal. The zoning administrator shall serve the statement on the property owner by registered or certified mail, return receipt requested at the property owner's address as shown by the Arapahoe County tax rolls, and at the discretion of the zoning administrator, any additional address which he or she deems appropriate. The statement shall notify the property owner that weed removal work has been prepared pursuant to this ordinance. State the date the work was performed, the nature of the work performed, and instruct the property owner to pay the statement in full within 30 days of the date set forth herein. E. Appeals from the zoning administrator's actions, assessment of cost. The aforementioned statement in section B above shall also notify the property owner that any complaints or objections relating to the statement of cost shall be made in writing by the property owners to the director and with a copy submitted to the zoning administrator within 15 days from the date set forth in the statement of cost. Said statement shall reflect that any appeal taken shall be heard and determined by the director at a hearing prior to the adoption of any resolution by the board assessing the cost of such work. All property owners filing timely written requests for a hearing shall be advised of the time and place of their hearing before the director at least 10 days in advance of said hearing. At the hearing, the director shall consider all complaints and objections relating to the statement of costs, may make such modifications as may be deemed equitable or just, or may confirm the statement of costs. The director's decision and findings shall be transmitted to the Board of County Commissioners. The board shall thereupon, by resolution, assess the cost of the work upon the real property from which needs have been removed. The property owner shall be given 30 days to pay the costs after the assessment resolution is adopted. If the assessment is not paid within such time, the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners shall certify the amount of assessment due to the Arapahoe County Treasurer. In the event an appeal is not filed by a property owner and payment of the assessment has not been received, the zoning administrator shall submit to the Board of County Commissioners a statement of costs after 30 days have elapsed from the initial billing date. The board thereupon by resolution shall assess the cost of the work against the real property from which weeds have been removed. Section 7. Collection of the assessment lien on the property. A. Collection of assessment. Following adoption of the assessment resolution, the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners shall certify the same to the county treasurer, who shall collect the assessment together with an additional 10% penalty for the cost of the collection in the same manner as other taxes are collected. The laws of the state for assessment and collection of general taxes, including the laws for the sale and redemption of property for taxes, shall apply to the collection of the assessment. B. Assessment deemed lien priority. Any assessment made pursuant to this ordinance shall constitute, from the effective date of the assessment resolution, a lien in the several amounts assessed against the real property on which the liens were removed until paid, and shall have priority over all other liens except general taxes and prior special assessment. Section 8. Penalty for violation. Any person who violates the ordinance commits a Class 2 petty offense, and upon conviction thereof shall be punished by a fine of $500 for the first offense, $750 for the second offense, and $1,000 for the third and any subsequent offense. Penalty assessment procedures set forth in Section 16-2-201 CRS may be found in enforcing this ordinance. In addition to the penalties described above, persons convicted of a violation of this ordinance shall be subject to a surcharge of $10 that shall be paid to the clerk of court by the defendant as provided by Section 30-15-402(2) CRS. Section 9. Effective date. This ordinance shall take effect 30 days after the final publication following adoption. And that is the proposed weed control ordinance. Commissioners have any questions? I stand for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Are there any questions from commissioners? Pardon me, on the ordinance itself, and Russell Johnson is also available to answer questions.
Yes.
Madam Chair. Commissioner Jackson, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. If you could, either of you, just outline for us the major changes that passing this ordinance would affect.
I can answer that question. The major changes to the ordinance are in regards to the lot size. Originally, it was 1 acre or less. We have increased the lot size to 2 acres or less for residential lots, and we've also included commercial zoned properties as well to be included.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. This is not a public hearing, but Michelle, do we have anyone on the line who would like to speak on this issue?
Commissioner, we do have individuals on the line. If they'd like to speak on this item, if they could press *3 to get in the queue at this time. No one's in the queue for this item, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, and hearing that we don't have anyone who would like to make any public comment, and if there are no further questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Baker.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
I'll go ahead. If no one else would like to make the motion, I will make a motion to set the public hearing date. Proposed ordinance number 2021-01, amending and restating the Arapahoe County policies and procedures regulating the accumulation of weeds and brush on commercial and residential lots of 2 acres or less, providing for the removal thereof, and providing penalty provisions for violations and enforcement pertaining thereto, being first introduced and read at this regular public meeting of the Arapahoe County Board of County Commissioners, I hereby move to schedule a public hearing date for January 12, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. in the East Hearing Room of the Arapahoe County Administration Building, 5334 South Prince Street, Littleton, Colorado 80120, and direct staff to publish the full text of such proposed ordinance and notice of the public of the hearing in a newspaper of general circulation as provided by law.
I'll second that, Nancy J.
Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. There's only one thing that I would maybe modify a little bit, and that's given our COVID situation, whether it is in person in our public hearing, actually in the hearing room, the East Hearing Room. So I think that might be something that we will have to see whether it will be a virtual in the same manner that we are doing today. And that would be the only thing that I might just add to this. If that is all right, Mr. Hill.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. That's a good point. That's there on my part. I should actually put that in the motion itself. And I'll accept that as a friendly amendment to the motion that I made.
As I will too, as I had that same thought. So thank you, Commissioner Sharp, for pointing that out.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I wish we could be in person, but it may not be likely for January 12th. So, okay, motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. All in favor? Well, let me ask, are there any further questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Johnson, and thank you, Mr. Hill. And we will move on to our next item, which is the public hearing, PF 20-005, Sky Ranch filing number 3, final plat. Our presenter is Molly Orkill Larson, Senior Planner, Public Works and Development, and Mr. Hill is our attorney on this matter, and he is Senior Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Hill, would you please set the foundation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is an application for a final plat approval before the board. It has been noticed by publication in the Villager and I-70 Scout newspapers, by posting of the property, and mail notice to adjacent property owners. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Ms. Orkild-Larson, would you please go ahead?
Good morning, Commissioners. Molly Orkild-Larson, Senior Planner with the Public Works Department. What's before you is the Sky Ranch filing number 3, final plat. The applicant is TCY Holdings, LLC. This application proposes to replat filing number 1 by adding 3 lots to Tract L of the Neighborhood B of the Sky Ranch development. The new lots are approximately 5,500 square feet in size and are compatible with the surrounding lots. The preliminary development plan for the Sky Ranch originally approved a total of 525 single-family residential lots for Neighborhood B, but through the site design, 506 were proposed and platted. The preliminary development plan specifies lots can be transferred from one neighborhood to another. Therefore, adding 3 lots back to Neighborhood B is allowed as per the preliminary development plan. There is a cash in lieu fee for this application, including $2,988.16 for schools, $2,126.56 for parks, and $88.61 for other public facilities. An administrative site plan and a vacation of easement applications for the proposed 3 lots are also being processed and currently under review with this application. Based on the findings of the staff report, the staff is recommending approval with conditions. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions for me at this time, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Are there any questions from the board?
The applicant is online and does have a... Oh, sorry?
No, that's okay. I was just going to say we would like to hear from the applicant. Doesn't appear to be any questions, don't appear to be any questions from the board, but if the applicant would like to take a couple minutes here, please go ahead and introduce yourself, name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Mark Harding. My address is 5530 South Forest Lane, Greenwood Village. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'd like to thank staff for their assistance in bringing this application to you for consideration today. I do have a small, brief presentation of kind of what this is and how this came about. On the presentation, I'm not sure if you all can see that presentation through the website, or if you want me to just talk about it in general terms. Let me run through it.
If you could, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, let me just quickly go through the pertinent parts of the of what this application is. On slide 3, just a short overview. As you all know, this is our first phase of the entire master plan community, and as Molly had highlighted, our first phase was approved for 525 lots. We currently have 506 lots. These 3 particular lots were held unreserved, knowing that we were under construction with a water treatment facility at the same time we were constructing the entire community. And so what we looked to do was kind of reserve that those lots from the home builders to make sure that we had adequate access to the site for construction equipment and being able to complete the wastewater treatment plant. Once that was completed, these lots would be available for surplus and then replatting. Move to slide 4. That basically shows you a temporary trail easement alignment that was on the property that we were looking to vacate as part of this application. Really, slide 5 kind of gives you an illustration of the blockage, the wastewater treatment plant, and kind of the open space configuration. And you can kind of see this was an alignment of how we zoned out the entire block structure for that. And so now that we've completed the wastewater treatment plant, that's what this application is seeking to do is put those 3 lots back into the master plan. The trail system and the access are going to be consistent the way the original alignment was to look. So gives you a flavor for that. Slide 6 is really kind of an illustration of similar examples throughout the community of access to trails and open space where we try to, make these connection points into the trail corridors from the communities and the blocks in each of the communities. So that gives you kind of a consistency orientation throughout the community. Slide 7, a bit of an aerial of the kind of the finished product where you can see the completion of the trail network, the open space, kind of the wastewater treatment plant, and there's these lots and then 2 other lots that are still vacant on the other side of the access to the water treatment plant. So that's kind of what the application is. I'm happy to entertain any questions if you have any.
Any questions for Mr. Harding? Not hearing any. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Michelle, do we have anyone? I'll open the public comment period on public hearing PF 20-005 Sky Ranch filing number 3 final plat. Are there any citizens who would like to make comments on this item?
We do have folks on the line, so if you would like to speak on this item, if you could press star 3 at this time and we'll get you in the queue. Again, please press star 3. We do have an individual on the line for this item.
I am on the proposed opposite lot 11, for the replat. And as a citizen of the Sky Ranch, while working with the developer to purchase my lot, we were made aware, or at least I know for me, that across my lot, there wasn't going to be a development, it was going to be a water treatment center. So the value of the lot was in a sense raised for me because of the view that I'll be gaining for the equity of my property. Given this new development, I understand it's a business and a business needs to run. Is there any provision or space made for citizens like me who are now going to be losing that view or losing the value of that equity, and which the developer had actually maintained that the water treatment center was going to leave that space for the location of my lot? And I rest my question.
Thank you. I'm not sure if have you worked with Mr. Harding on this? He'd probably be the best person to respond to your question. And maybe I'm
on the line. Commissioner, I am on the line, and I will say that these lots were always part of our master plan, and I believe the gentleman is referring to not necessarily the developer, but probably the home builder on those lots. And there's oftentimes a disconnect between what the builder is representing compared to what the development is intending, and those disconnects are, this is one of those unfortunate circumstances where sometimes that may occur, and it is an unfortunate circumstance. This is a continuity within the overall community. The lots, were kind of set aside to allow us construction access, and we really didn't want to put them under contract with the builder because then we'd have to have additional agreements with the builder about timelines on finishing the water treatment plant and all those elements to that. So, it is a difficult situation where someone else makes a representation that isn't a representation from the developer, and it is an unfortunate case.
Well, it sounds like the best thing is to go back to the builder, sir, and try to work with the builder, and we hear you, but probably best to go back to the builder and have that discussion. But thank you for contacting us this morning. Michelle, do we have anyone else who would like to speak during public comment?
There's no one else in the queue at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will close the public hearing, public comment part 2 on this item. And if there are no further questions, entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Baker.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
Thank you. I just say also that if Molly, if you're on the line and you can get that person's contact information, it might be helpful just to act as a resource in getting him to the right home builder in that case to ask his question. But I will go ahead and make a motion. In the case of PEF 20-005, Sky Ranch filing number 3 final plat, the County Commissioners have reviewed the staff report, including all exhibits and attachments, and have listened to the applicant's presentation and the public comment as presented at the public hearing. I hereby move to approve this application based on the findings in the staff report, subject to the following conditions. 1. Prior to signature of the final copy of these plans, the applicant must address Public Works staff comments and concerns. 2. The applicant shall pay a cash in lieu prior to recording of the plat. Rules $2,988.16. Parks $2,126.56. And other public purposes, $88.61.
I'll second. Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And thank you, Ms. Orkill-Larson and Mr. Hill and Mr. Harding. And our next public hearing is SD 20-001 Sky Ranch Metropolitan District's amendments to existing service plans and creation of service plans for new districts. Our presenter on this matter again is Molly Orkill-Larson, Senior Planner, Public Works and Development. Our attorney on this matter is Mr. Robert Hill, Senior Assistant County Attorney. Mr. Hill, would you set the foundation, please?
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair. This, as you noted, it's a request to amend the existing service plans for Sky Ranch Metropolitan Districts 3, 4, and 5, and to create new service plans for proposed new metropolitan districts for the Sky Ranch development. Districts number 6, the new districts would be 6, 7, and 8. This is a public hearing. It has been noticed in accordance with state statute as required for the establishment and approval of service plans for proposed and amended metropolitan districts. The board has jurisdiction to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Ms. Orcheld-Larsen, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, thank you. Molly Orcheld-Larsen, Senior Planner with the Public Works Department. What's before you this morning is the Sky Ranch Metropolitan Districts. I do have a PowerPoint that you can follow along with. As you're aware, the Sky Ranch development is a mixed-use community consisting of 927 acres. And on slide 1, I have that outlined in a yellow dashed line. The applicant is Pure Cycle Corporation, and they're seeking to amend and restate the existing service plans for the metropolitan districts number 3, 4, and 5, and create service plans for proposed districts 6, 7, and 8, totaling 775 acres, and that's outlined in the red, by the red line. District 1 is in existence, but its service plan will not be amended, and District 2 has been dissolved. District 1 is Neighborhood B of the Sky Ranch development, which is under construction now. Undeveloped portion of Sky Ranch will provide services to 2.09 million square feet of commercial property and 2,898 single-family and multifamily residential units. The new districts, along with the existing districts, are to provide improvements, facilities, and service necessary to develop and serve the Sky Ranch development. You move to slide 2. The services that will be provided for these districts are water and sand facilities and services, stormwater and storm drainage facilities and services, street improvements, safety protection facilities and services, transportation facilities, mosquito control, park and recreation facilities and services, and television relay and translation facilities. The county did hire an outside financial consultant, Jason Simmons with Hilltop Securities Incorporated, and he is on the line today to answer any questions that you may have. And he reviewed the proposed service plans and gave staff recommendations. This consultant recommended bonds issued by the district for district improvements and secured by the debt service mill levy and the regional improvements mill levy not to be outstanding for more than 40 years. Also requested was that the applicant to identify the regional improvements that would be constructed by the districts. And the applicant has complied with these two requests and has put them in the service plan. On slide 3, the current development plan anticipates the cost of the improvements will be approximately $295 million. The proposed service plans anticipate only $300 million of debt. However, the existing districts are proposing to increase the existing maximum debt limit to $312 million. Considering the findings and other information provided in the staff report, staff is recommending approval of this application. This does conclude my presentation. If you have any questions for myself or any of the other team members, we'd be more than happy to answer them. And Mark Harding does have a PowerPoint presentation he'd like to review with you and go into more detail.
Are there any questions from the board for Ms. Orcheld-Larsen at this point, and then we'll go to Mr. Harding? I'm not hearing any. Mr. Harding, go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, this is a technical point. I don't have any questions, but we've got like a couple thousand pages of documentation here, and I don't know if Molly can help us find out what page it's on so that I can follow along. There's plenty of graphs and data here, but if we wanted to follow along on the PowerPoint, is there any way you can point us to that page, or I'll just listen?
For a specific item or
for the PowerPoint?
Oh, for the PowerPoint. It was part of your packet. The staff provided a PowerPoint, and then also the applicant provided a PowerPoint.
So they were separate from the BSR materials?
Yes, they were separate items.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll find it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Harding, would you like to go ahead?
I certainly appreciate that opportunity. And again, I'd like to recognize and thank staff for their hard work on this proposal. This is a very technical proposal, and Attorney Bob Hill, together with the county consultant Jason, Molly, and the rest of the team really did work very hard to get through some of the nuances in the language of how these types of agreements work. So I'll jump into it. The third page of our presentation, the real ask here is that we are asking to expand the debt authorization limit from what was done in 2004. The service plans that were approved in 2004 had a contemplated public infrastructure requirement of about $166 million. That was a lifetime ago in the development world, and certainly costs have significantly increased, attributable to all projects in the metropolitan area. As Molly kind of alluded to, the basic public improvement costs include transportation, parks, open space, water, sewer, storm drainage, and then drilling down on some of the regional improvements, because this project situated right along the interstate, so we have interstate interchange improvements. We have, Monaghan improvements, which are connectivity both north to Adams County as well as south to City of Aurora, 6th Avenue connectivity, east-west to City of Aurora and other projects in Arapahoe County, Hasemont, again, into Aurora, into Arapahoe County, Alameda, again. So we have very significant, it's a large project, which you would normally think that would have large public infrastructure improvements. I'm going to run through these pretty quickly because I think Molly did a really good job of teeing them up on page 4. Really highlights which property boundary this is impacting. It doesn't impact our existing residents out at Sky Ranch. This is the undeveloped portion, so the 780 remaining acres of that. The next page is sort of an illustration of some of the interchange improvements that are being contemplated. We're currently under review with the county and other jurisdictions, CDOT included, on improvements to the interchange. So this is some of that work. Page 6, again, the arterial roadways. You've got Monaghan, 6th Avenue, Hasemont, Alameda, big section line improvements. These are, 6-lane arterials, so very 144-foot right-of-way, very extensive improvements in the transportation network. Open space. This is kind of a master plan of some of our overstates, showing the rec center, some of the network of the trails and parks and improved open space. Slide 8 is drainage improvements. Again, we happen to situate along First Creek and some tributaries to First Creek, so we want to maintain those drainage corridors and improve those drainage corridors, not only for their functionality, but for open space purposes. Take a look at the water sewer infrastructure. We've got about 40 miles of water distribution and sewer collection systems and about 20 miles of stormwater collection lines. And so all of that, and Commissioner Jackson, you're right, it goes through an eon of litany of exhibits and charts and math and projections and any number of ways. and really smart people taking a look at this, really prepared a lot of that information to try and make our best estimate of what this is all going to cost. This is a long-term project. This could be, more than a 10-year project, so we hope that we're updating these costs such that we can get the improvements in for these projected costs. But this is kind of a summary of how we got to some of that $295 million total that Molly introduced in the beginning. What this does not do, it doesn't set mill levies out of comparison to the rest of the project. And so what we're looking to do is be able to utilize existing mills that we've got in. So slide 11 really highlights the existing mills that we have for the District 1, which is under construction right now. So we have a total of 185.596 mills there. And then, the rest of the Sky Ranch districts will seek to have a similar mill levy on that. There's a difference between mill levies here that we're going to put for regional improvement mill levies, this RIM mill levy. And that difference really is born out of the difference in the mills that are attributable to the two different school districts on this project. So we have Aurora Public Schools, which is in the first filing, and the remaining portion of this is in the Bennett schools. And so this seeks to keep those mill levies identical so that all residents of Sky Ranch are paying the same mills. And then a portion of the available mills on the difference between the Bennett and the Aurora schools will be dedicated to regional improvement. And those will fluctuate. So as the mills change, as the Bennett School District raises their mills, that mill will go down. And then what I wanted to do is just kind of give you a comparison of the mill levies by comparable projects. And so what this sort of shows is we're right in line with that. We're about 185 mills, and there are projects that are not yet under construction that might be lower in their mills, like Prosper, who have not started construction, but you'll likely see those mills adjust as they get into evaluating their public improvement requirements. And then, other projects in and around the area that would be slightly over 200 mills. So, we think we're reasonable in terms of our mill levy component on that. And so that's a real kind of high-level assumption of what's probably several hundred pages worth of analysis and several, I would say, hundreds of hours of work by consultants and staff to get to this application. And I would entertain any questions if there are any.
Any questions? Madam Chair, I did finally.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
I have to admit I did not read every page of this document. However, I did find the PowerPoint again, and for those who are interested, it's on page 1,550. So that's just a comment that somehow we need a way to navigate these documents. But what I was going to comment on, or even a question, is we get a lot of complaints from our residents around how high taxes are, and so when I look at the slide on with the mill levy comparison, I find that to be really helpful. That Sky Ranch is somewhere in the middle of the total mill levies that will be charged, and I'm sure that'll be a selling point for you. But for me, and again, this is a question for staff, I think, is just that if we could have the PowerPoints or the slides kind of closer to the original BSR so that we can look that over and then look at the detail, because in some ways I find that this PowerPoint really, both PowerPoints actually, I found the first one okay. I'm not complaining, but it's helpful because it really kind of points out the essence of what we're talking about here. So thank you for including the PowerPoint, and I guess I would say thanks to staff for such an incredibly thorough report, because it's all important information, but it's just hard to get through on a weekend. So I have no questions. I think this
Sounds reasonable. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson. Any other comments, questions? Okay, not hearing any, I will open the public comment period, citizen comment period on this item, which is, just as a reminder, sorry, let me get back here to read, SD 20-001 Sky Ranch Metropolitan District's amendments to existing service plans and creation of service plans for new districts. Michelle, do we have anyone from the public that would like to comment on this item?
There are individuals on the line, so if they would like to comment on the Metropolitan District amendments, if they can press *3 at this time, and we'll get them in the queue. I see no one in the queue for this particular item, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will close the public comment period and ask for a motion.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Baker.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
In the case of SD 20-001 Sky Ranch Metropolitan Districts, existing service plan amendments and creation of service plans for new districts, the County Commissioners have reviewed the staff report, including all exhibits and attachments, and have listened to the applicant's presentation and any public comments as presented at the hearing, and hereby move to approve the service plans as submitted in case number SD 20-001 for the amendments to the service plans for the existing Sky Ranch Metropolitan Districts numbers 3, 4, and 5, and to approve the service plans for the new Sky Ranch Metropolitan Districts number 6, 7, and 8.
This is Nancy J. I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you again, everybody who presented, and good luck, Mr. Harding. And let's see, we will move to our public hearing, our next public hearing, which is adoption of the 2021 budget and certification of mill levies. Our presenter is Mr. Todd Weaver, Director of Finance, and our attorney is Mr. Ron Carl, County Attorney. Mr. Carl, would you set the foundation, please?
Yes. As noticed, this is a hearing on the adoption of the 2021 annual budgets and mill levies. Pursuant to state statute, the county, the Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority, the Arapahoe County Recreation District, and the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District are required to adopt their annual budgets by December 15th each year after published notice of the budgets and after a public hearing. The record should reflect that notice of the proposed 2021 budgets was published in the October 15, 2020 edition of the Villager newspaper. The board held a public hearing on October 27, 2020 that was continued until today. Therefore, this board, and acting as the ex-officio board of the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District, has jurisdiction to consider the 2021 budgets. Before you proceed, however, I have a brief disclosure I would like to make, if that's okay. Pursuant to state statute, thank you. Pursuant to state statute, section 24-18-109, a local government official who serves on the board of directors of a nonprofit entity
shall publicly announce his or her relationship with the nonprofit entity before voting on a matter that provides a direct and substantial economic benefit to the nonprofit entity. On behalf of the commissioners, I am disclosing the following. Commissioner Conti sits on the board of directors for All Health Network, and Commissioner Holland is an alternate. Commissioner Jackson sits on the board of Aurora Mental Health Center. Commissioner Sharp sits on the board of Developmental Pathways, and Commissioner Jackson sits on the board of the Rocky Mountain Crisis Partners. So with that disclosure, I believe that Todd Weaver, someone in his office, is prepared to present on this matter. And just for your information, there are a number of motions to make with regard to this matter once the public hearing is concluded, and you'll find those motions at page 1195.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. And Mr. Weaver, would you like to go ahead?
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Before you, as County Attorney Carl said, are resolutions to consider the adoption of the budget, the certification of the mill levies, and the appropriation of funds for fiscal year 2021 for Arapahoe County, the Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority, the Arapahoe County Recreation District, and the Arapahoe Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District. The budgets before you today are balanced and in conformance with Colorado law, including the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. In addition, the general fund operating budget is structurally balanced, and the development of the budget was in keeping with the county's budget preparation and control policy. As Attorney Carl said, the budgets must be adopted and mill levy certified by December 15th of each year, and this morning's public hearing meets that requirement. To give you a quick overview of what is included within those budgets before you this morning, when looking across all of the funds of the county and all of the taxing authorities of the county, the total revenues are $420.4 million. That is a 0.2% increase over the adopted budget for 2020. For the expenditure side of the budget, across all of the funds and taxing authorities, the total budget is just under $427 million. That is a 0.8% decrease over what was adopted for the 2020 budget. When looking solely at the general fund, which is the chief operating fund of the county, the revenue budget is $205.4 million, offset by $210.8 million worth of expenditures. When looking on an operating basis, those revenues and expenditures that are ongoing and not of a one-time nature, the revenue budget is $204.4 million, and the expenditure budget drops down to $203.9 million. Total staffing included in this budget is 2,297.27 full-time equivalent positions. That is up 15.87 full-time equivalent positions from 2020. In the general fund, we are funding of that 2,297.27 at full-time equivalents. The general fund represents 1,371.02 full-time equivalents. That is up 12.87 full-time equivalents from 2020, with 12 of those positions specifically funded for the Sheriff's Office to comply with the provisions of Senate Bill 217 regarding law enforcement accountability and the implementation of a body-worn camera program for law enforcement officers in the Sheriff's Office. The estimated ending 2021 general fund balance will be about $62 million. There is a $5.4 million one-time use of fund balance included in the general fund for 2021. Our net assessed value is up 0.6% from 2020 at $12.2 billion. The estimated, to be certified today, mill levy is 12.013 mills for the county out of a maximum allowable of 15.821 mills. In comparison to 2020, the mill levy for this current year was 11.685 mills. So the temporary tax credit is a bit smaller for 2021 at 3.913 mills. That includes the amount of the credit to keep us within our table revenue limits, as well as a small refund from small over-collections during fiscal year 2020. The capital improvement program budget in this year's budget is $10 million. As I stated earlier, the current general fund budget is structurally balanced. As of the numbers in front of you this morning, the operating budget surplus, the amount of operating revenues, ongoing revenues that exceed ongoing expenses, is $1,190,345. In comparing that to the
the prior year operating budget surplus from 2020. 2020 surplus was just under $500,000. The one-time use of fund balance for one-time items such as equipment purchases, as well as the transfer to the capital expenditure fund in the 2020 budget or 2021 budget is $5.4 million in the general fund. Just walking you briefly through the general fund budget. We have estimated that the beginning fund budget, the beginning fund balance for the general fund will be $67.4 million. When taking into consideration the total revenues in the general fund of $205.4 million and the total expenditures of $210.8 million, the $5.4 million use of fund balance will reduce the ending fund balance estimated for the general fund by year end of 2021 to just under $62 million. When we look at the operating budget for the general fund, we see $205.1 million in revenues offset by $203.9 million in expenses, leaving that $1.19 million as the operating surplus. Looking at some of the other significant operating funds for Arapahoe County, the Social Services Fund has a budget of $69.1 million for 2021. They're showing right now a $1.8 million use of their fund balance, which will reduce their fund balance from 10.6 down to an estimated $8.7 million. The Law Enforcement Authority has a $9.4 million budget included for 2021. That is a slight $200,000 deficit, reducing their fund balance from $7.3 to $7.1 million. The Road and Bridge Fund, through some changes to the budget that were made following our study session on November 16th, their revenue budget is now $16 million for 2021, offset by $16.6 million in salaries, benefits, and expenses for road maintenance, resulting in a $600,000 use of fund balance or reducing their fund balance from $3.9 to $3.3 million. The Capital Expenditure Fund can only spend the amount of funding that we give it. The capital plan for 2021 is $10 million. The Recreation District, for which we will be certifying a levy as part of these resolutions today, has a $1.4 million budget and a $1.8 million fund balance. And then the Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District also will be certifying a levy. Their budget is $8.7 million, and that is exclusively for the payment of debt that has been extended by the Public Improvement District for water and wastewater improvements. Looking at the $10 million capital improvement program, when we look at the categories of spending within that $10 million capital improvement program, transportation needs is addressed through $6.5 million of that total. $5.1 million of that funding is allocated to three large road projects, including the Isles Avenue corridor improvements, improvements to the Gun Club Road, Quincy south to Aurora Parkway, and the E470 ramp reconfiguration at Quincy Avenue. Facility needs are addressed with $3.5 million of the $10 million in capital funding. That includes $1.2 million for four distinct projects for the Arapahoe County Justice Center and $1.3 million in projects budgeted for the Sheriff's Administration Building for reconfiguration and remodeling costs related to implementing Senate Bill 217 for body-worn cameras, as well as improvements to the coroner's office to free up additional space for their operations as their workload has grown over the past number of years. In other funds that are included in the 2021 budget adoption resolutions before you, changes in the Community Development Fund to use some revenue that was received as a result of a partnership with the Arapahoe County Housing Authority has modified the Community Development budget, fund budget since the recommended budget there at $5.3 million for 2021. The Open Space Sales Tax Fund, one of our larger special revenue funds, is budgeted at $28.9 million for 2021. Building maintenance activities are being maintained with their budget of $2.1 million, and the Self-Insurance Liability Fund is up about $200,000 over last year's budget at $1.6 million. Finally, I just wanted to quickly review the breakdown of the mill levy for the county and for the other taxing authorities that are included in the resos this morning. For the county mill levy, as I said earlier, the total is 12.013 mills. The general fund is 9.945 mills of that. That will generate just under $120 million in revenue for the general fund. The Social Services Fund is 1.213 mills. That will generate about $14.6 million in revenue for the Social Services Fund. The Road and Bridge Fund at 0.479 mills, $5.8 million in revenue. and the capital expenditure fund 0.376, generating about $4.5 million in revenue for that fund. All told, the county mill levy, once again, 12.013 mills, $144.9 million in revenue. Development disabilities is at 1 mill, $12.2 million, and the law enforcement authority with their flat 4.982 mills generates about $8.1 million. The recreation district, which is also limited by Tabor, their mill levy is set at 0.676 mills for about $1 million of revenue, and then for the water and wastewater public improvement district, $7.8 million is generated by the 12th mill tax levy. As I said, in the county mill levy, there is a temporary tax credit of 3.904 mills to prevent the overcollection of revenue based upon the provisions of Tabor, and 0.009 mills to refund a very small 2020 overcollection amount. With that, the only other item I wanted to bring to your attention today is that in your resolutions there is a small typo where I transposed a number. On page 5 of your resos, the capital expenditure fund revenue should be $10,047,000 rather than $10,407,000. We've made that correction to the resolution, and we'll amend it as needed if adopted today. With that, are there any further questions or concerns regarding the 2021 budgets before you for consideration this morning? If so, I would be happy to answer those at this point in time.
Any questions for Mr. Weaver? Okay, hearing none, you did a very thorough job in our study session, our presentation, and then again today. Thank you. I will open the meeting up now for public comment on this issue. Michelle, do we have anyone in the queue who would like to speak?
Again, we do have callers on the line. If they'd like to speak on the budget, they can press *3 at this time to get in the queue. I see no one in the queue for this item at this time.
Okay, thank you. I will close the public hearing then. And are there just one quick follow-up? Any additional questions before we go into, or comments before we go into motions? Okay, not hearing any. We have these grouped. I think we have 5 different motions to be made here. So we'll start with Arapahoe County. Is there someone who would like to make the motion for Arapahoe County?
Madam Chair, this is Nancy.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah. So I just go ahead and move all of them at once. Read them all and then vote on each one, or how do you want to do this? We can do all.
This is Ron. I would recommend you do them one at a time. There's, as Commissioner Sharp indicated, there's 5 separate motions.
Right. Okay. I'll do them one at a time. So the first one is I move to adopt the 7 resolutions approving and adopting the 2021 budget, certifying the mill levies, and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County.
This is Commissioner Holland. I second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holland. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Baker.
Go ahead, Commissioner Baker.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2021 budget, certifying the mill levy, and appropriating funds for Arapahoe Law Enforcement Authority.
I'll second that. I'm sorry, was that Commissioner Conti? Commissioner Jackson. Okay, sorry. I should know all of our voices by now, but okay, motion made by Commissioner Baker, seconded by Commissioner Jackson. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We'll go to Arapahoe County Recreation District.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Conti, and I would move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2021 budget, certifying the mill levy, and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County Recreation District.
Commissioner Holm, I second.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Holan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. We'll move to Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District.
Madam Chair, Nancy Jackson.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
Acting as the ex officio board of the district, I move to adopt the 3 resolutions approving and adopting the 2021 budget, certifying mill levy and appropriating funds for Arapahoe County Water and Wastewater Public Improvement District.
Commissioner Baker will second.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Aye. Abstentions? Oops, I'm sorry, go back. Was that an aye or?
Yes, that was an aye. My apologies. Yes, I apologize.
Okay.
Commissioner Conti was aye vote.
Okay, thank you. Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Authorize the chair to sign the 2021 certification of levy forms. Entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, Nancy Jackson.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the chair to sign the 2021 certification of tax levy forms.
I'll second that, Commissioner Holland.
Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Holan. Comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We've got one more, and that is adoption. This is a public hearing for adoption of supplemental budget resolutions for the 3rd quarter. And again, our attorney on this matter is Mr. Ron Carl, and our presenter, I can't get back here, but is Todd Weaver, Finance Director.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is Ron Carl.
Yes.
I'll set the foundation. And also there's actually two additional matters to consider. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Got to get back to my agenda.
Pursuant to state statute, once the county has adopted its annual budget, the board may transfer appropriate monies between funds or between spending agencies within a fund, or if unanticipated revenues are received, the board may elect a supplemental budget and appropriation only after notice of the transfer and or supplemental appropriation has been published. The record should reflect that notice of 22 amendments to the 2020 budget was published in the December 3rd, 2020 issue of the Villager newspaper. Therefore, the board has jurisdiction to consider these 22 amendments to the 2020 budget. And I would note that there is one motion for this matter, and it is found at page 1210.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Weaver.
Good morning again, Commissioners. I'm going to turn it over to Senior Budget Analyst Lisa Steris, who's going to give you a very brief summary before your consideration of the resolutions for supplemental appropriations. Lisa, go ahead.
morning. As Carl pointed out, we have 22 resolutions for adoption today as part of the third quarter budget review. The requests are broken out into two different areas, discussion needed, and then new revenue and budget cleanup. To be mindful of your time, I'll just hit a few of them, but would be happy to answer any questions you may have on any supplementals. For discussion needed, all funds, we have $6.75 million in revenue, offset by $13.4 million in expenditures. For the general fund of that, it's $1.38 million in revenue with $1.35 million in expenditures. The majority of that is for the CARES Act supplementals, which total just over $6.5 million. Resolution number 9 has a number transposed in the last sentence for the open space fund, but it's correct in all sentences, in the intent, and the overall total is correct for that resolution. Other resolutions or other supplementals included in this area include 3 supplementals for vehicle replacements that have attachments. They total $133,000. There are 2 replacements for open space as part of their normal retirement schedule for 2 vehicles, and then 1 vehicle for facilities and fleet that was totaled in an accident. In the new revenue and budget cleanup section, all funds have $3.1 million in revenue and expenditures, and of that, $2.76 million is for the infrastructure funds that was received for various road projects. So this will be to recognize the revenue and appropriate that. A couple of the projects include like the Island Road project and then I-70 and Watkins Roads. So overall, the net impact to the general fund is $28,356 more in revenue than expenditures. And then for all funds, it's a net increase of $6.6 million. Again, just over 6.5 of that is for the CARES Act supplemental for the capital projects and then building closures and the FFCRA. So with that, I would conclude for the total request for the 22 resolutions for third quarter budget review, and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Spears. Are there any questions? Not hearing any. Michelle, do we have anybody who would like to speak? I will open the public comment period for adoption of third quarter supplemental appropriation resolutions. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to speak?
There's no one in the queue at this time.
Thank you. Okay. I will now close the public hearing and entertain a motion. Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Conti, and I would move to adopt. Can you hear me? I can. I move to adopt the 22 supplemental appropriation resolutions for the 2020 budget that were presented to the board on the third quarter budget review study session on November 16th, 2020, and brought forward for formal adoption at today's public hearing. Do you have a second?
I'll second that. Commissioner Holland.
Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Conti, seconded by Commissioner Holland. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And now the last public hearing that we have today is certification of tax levies for cities, towns, school districts, and special districts for fiscal year 2021. Our attorney on this matter is Mr. Ron Carl, our county attorney, and our presenter is Todd Weaver, Director of Finance. Mr. Carl, would you set the foundation, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, there's no special foundation or notice requirements for this matter. It's an administrative matter. I would note that there is one proposed motion for this item as well, and it's at page 1216, which is the last page page of your packet.
Thank you, Mr. Carl. Mr. Weaver?
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you are three resolutions that certify the mill levies for cities and towns, school districts, and special districts within Arapahoe County for the ensuing fiscal year of 2021. They're required, the districts, cities, towns, and school districts and special districts are required by statute to submit their certification of tax levy information to the county no later than December 15th of each year. In turn, the county is required to certify the tax levies to the assessor by December 22nd and submit a report of those tax levies for the county and all cities, towns, and districts to the state of Colorado shortly thereafter. By adopting these resolutions, the Board of County Commissioners is performing a ministerial and non-discretionary act to comply with the requirements of Section 39.1.111 and 39.5.128 CRS. The Board of County Commissioners has no authority to modify the mill levy so certified to it. That the Board of County Commissioners has presumed that the above noted cities, towns, school districts, and special districts have complied with the Colorado constitutional and statutory requirements concerning said levies, and therefore the Board of County Commissioners assumes no liability or responsibility associated with any of the above noted cities, towns, and special districts levies except for the ministerial and non-discretionary act of the certification. They are required, as we said, to submit those by December 15th. Unfortunately, there are usually a number of districts where finance department staff have to follow up with them and get those mill levies in and certified. We will complete the lion's share of the resolution with all the mill levies included in it and present to the chair of the Board of County Commissioners for signature to comply with the December 22nd deadline to certify that to the assessor and to the state of Colorado. So with that, if there are any questions or concerns with the resolutions before you this morning, I'd be happy to address those. This is a quick FYI. There are 9 school districts, 13 cities and towns, and approximately 430 taxing districts within Arapahoe County that will be included in these 3 resolutions. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oops, let me back up here, sorry. Michelle, do we have anyone? I'll open the public comment period. Is there anyone? I don't think we had anyone in the queue, but I want to make sure that we give the opportunity for any citizens that would like to comment.
There's no one in the queue at this time.
Okay, I will close the public comment period and now entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, Nancy Jackson.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jackson.
I move to adopt the 3 resolutions to certify the tax levies for cities and towns, school districts, and special districts within Arapahoe County for fiscal year 2021, pursuant to 39-1-111 and 39-5-128 CRS.
Commissioner Baker will second. Thank you. Motion made by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Now is the time in our agenda where we have commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments this morning?
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Holen.
Go ahead, Commissioner Holen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to commend our finance department and our planning department for the excellent job they did in presenting their issues today. It's clearly that we're very fortunate to have a very strong professional staff, and the details that were presented today is a reflection of their competence. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Holen. Any other comments? I'm sure we can all agree with that. Thank you, Commissioner Holen.
Anything else this morning?
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Conti.
Yes, just like to, thank you. Just like to make a special note in honor of Pearl Harbor Day yesterday to thank all of our veterans and who have served us so valiantly and with a great honor in our military services, all the branches that have come together over the years, and especially those who did serve us in World War II. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Conti. Anyone else this morning? Okay, hearing none. Thanks you, everyone, this morning. Appreciate it. It was a long agenda, and thanks, everybody, and I will adjourn the meeting.
The Access Live event has ended.